think circles are ever present in the world around us. You see them everywhere. It's a huge symbol in nature. You see it in the eye, you see it in the curve of the earth, you see it in all sorts of situations in the geometry that underlies nature. And I just think it's a form that has a really calm presence and a strong presence. I started thinking about how to create furniture items using flat material, using plywood, but finding a way of curving it so that when the seams came together it would create a three-dimensional form. And as a starting point I looked at corset design and dressmaking, because that was obviously something that was going to follow the form of the human figure, and specifically I was interested in the female human figure. So corsets work really well. And I came up with a series of models that were designed as experiments, I suppose, to check out form and how things could go together. So I was lacing things together in the way that a corset would have been done. With this chair I used flat plywood where I created different shapes in the flat. But if you can see how, when they're brought together into a three-dimensional form, they actually suit the shape of the back, and that's what I was trying to capture, using the dressmaking theme to follow the contours of the body. So that actually is very ergonomic and comfortable, but essentially is made from flat material that's joined with a tongue joint along this join here. The difficulty was making this join work in a really beautiful way. This has obviously been veneered with, in this case, rubber. In other cases it's veneered with sycamore, ripple sycamore, 0.6 of a millimetre veneer. But essentially that has to be a really tight and well-made join. So it was finding a way of creating that. And I had to put a slight groove into the edge of it. I then had to make a tongue joint that was made up of canvas laminated with veneer so that it was flexible but strong as well, and then that fits in and bends across the join to make it strong. So when I started out I felt the best way was to get a design training, which I did at High Wycombe, and then to go forward by working with the masters, working with people who I thought were really good makers and who were creative designer makers in their own workshops. And the first port of call for me was Trannan, which was fantastic. I was their chair maker for a year. I learned all about jig making and steam bending. And then I went on to work with Fred Bayer in Pewsey, and I was there for 8 years, and I worked with Gareth Neal as well and with Mike Wainwright. And together, all four of us, you know, we were having a creative time. It was a really exciting, full of ideas time.
So you were one of the Pewsey boys then?
I was a Pewsey boy. Yeah, I'm a Pewsey boy.
I mean, that's an interesting thing, that there aren't that many women in woodworking.
Yeah, when I started out, I think there was a lot less. I really felt as though I was one of the very few people that were lady woodworkers. I'd got my own people that I'd looked at, Jackie Den and Lucinda Leach. I think now there are a lot more women coming through in woodwork. You know, the whole educational system has embraced it, and also the industry itself. You can walk into a timber yard and people don't fall over and think, what's going on? It's changed. You know, there's a very different attitude to women across the board, actually. Just in any technical subject or anything that was a man's domain isn't really. I don't see the same divide. There's a lot of opportunity now. There's a lot of workshops across the UK, across Europe, but across the UK there's hundreds of small furniture workshops that are willing to let a bench space out for somebody to develop their own ideas, perhaps in return for a day or two's work so that they're paying their way. I think there's lots of space for people to show their work. There's exhibitions that people can be part of. Some of them don't cost much, some can be in the hundreds, but yeah, it's a massive scene now, the creative arts, the creative industries. It's what we do best, actually, in this country.